Hello to you again. Welcome back. We're on our next session at India Global Week. Remember, please join in the conversation. Use the hashtag #BeTheRevival, and you can submit any questions or thoughts you've got using the area on screen, or you can tweet me. I'm at BBC Ben Thompson. Now we're going to move on to our next session looking at technology, and this is an area that really does fascinate me. This is the area of payments and financial services, economies, banking systems, transactions. Of course, we know all about the exchange of money, but digital payments have really absolutely changed the way that money is moved around economies. It's changed fintech, much has changed there, but has it really harnessed its full potential? Are we really getting as much out of this technology as perhaps we might? India has been pretty quick to adopt digital payments, of course, in its move towards a digital payment economy. But what happens next? So to discuss some of those issues, I'm really pleased to welcome Ajay Vij, who's the Senior Vice President and Industry Head of Financial Services at Infosys. Ajay, I know you have your panel with you this morning, so please talk me through the panel and what some of the issues you're going to discuss this morning.
Thank you very much, Ben. Appreciate the time. And am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So look, we have a range of topics to cover today. We have an exciting panel, I have three guests with me today: Arvind, Rudra, and Mridula, and I'll introduce them as we go by. But we over-indexing today on what's happening in the world of payments in India, but larger picture on digitization trends in India and how it's benefited the whole population and the financial inclusion as India's progressed over the last 10 years in this space. So we'll be covering a range of topics today, Ben.
So give me a sense of who will join you on the panel, because I know there's a lot for you to talk about and there's a stellar lineup. So maybe you want to introduce that panel for us.
Perfect, great. So let me just kick off by saying that extremely proud to be part of India Global Week 2020. Manoj and team have done an incredible job of curating this event remotely and organizing a fantastic lineup of participants, including our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. So first of all, congratulations to the India Global team. And I'm very fortunate to have a great lineup of leaders from cross-sector in India. We have from non-profit, fintech, and the corporate world of India. And a very warm welcome to my guests and the people joining the live webinars. So on the panel today, I have Arvind Gupta, who is a co-founder and head of Digital India Foundation. He's joining me from New Delhi. I have Rudra Dalmia, Executive Director and CFO at Paytm e-commerce, again joining me from Delhi, and Mridula, Iyer. She's the head of Treasury and Trade Solutions for South Asia at Citi, joining us from Mumbai. She was having some technical challenges, and I'm hoping we'll be able to address that. So that's where we have on the panel, Ben.
Now take it away, Ajay. It's all yours. So please let us know any of your thoughts. Remember, you can continue the conversation with the hashtag #BeTheRevival. But Ajay, I'll let you discuss with your panel.
Fantastic, and thank you very much. And folks, a very warm welcome to you again, Arvind, Rudra, and Mridula. Good to have you. And I'll kick off by saying that, look, technology is a great leveler, and specifically, it's truly reflected in the digitization journey of India. In 2008, we had 18% of the adults who had bank accounts in India. And if I fast forward today to 2020, we have more than 80%. So the financial inclusion percentage has gone up dramatically in India. What would have taken almost 50 years was achieved in less than 10 years. And to me, Digital India has been a resounding success story. And pardon the levity, but the analogy sort of feels like the movie Wizard of Oz, where it suddenly switches from black and white after the first 20 minutes to deep Technicolor with 3D effects. So that's the image I had in my head about the digital progress in India. And the foundations of the transformation in India is the digital infrastructure the government of India has put together, also called the India Stack, comprising of identity, which is the Aadhaar identity, we call it, and payments, UPI, and many more innovations, and the data rail. In the conversation that follows today, we will look at the impact the India Stack has had on public and welfare systems, fintechs and consumer finance, and the corporate world of India. So we'll cover a range of lens, which is from fintechs, welfare, public services, plus the corporate world. So Arvind, I'll tee it off with you. You've been engaged with digital data and analytics across your corporate and startup careers. You also led the digital social media campaign and the communication strategy for the government of India. So give us a sense of how the digitization has helped India in driving welfare programs and the financial inclusion in a sort of transparent way. So if you may, Arvind.
Great, thank you, Ajay, for having me, and for India Inc. for organizing this. I just want to begin by saying that when the current Prime Minister envisaged Digital India as a flagship program of the country, the idea was, in 2014, India had about 140 million people using the internet. Today, that number has gone up to over 600 million. But when we were there at 2014, the Prime Minister said that we want to build India as one of the pillars of the building the new India will be digital, and we need to see how we can use the digital highways to leapfrog, to scale, and to really use the true power of the internet and the connectivity of power to empower. So Digital India has been envisaged with the concept of making sure that the benefits of empowerment reach every single person, every last home in India, and everybody's empowered, so to say, and really unleashes their creativity, their entrepreneurial energy, and benefits from the societal gains that the internet brings about. It really inverts the pyramid. But that was a philosophy of it. But going to the actual, what is Digital India? It is actually, I see it as two different tracks. Number one being building the highways. So building the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure highways, building the safe cars on top of it, which is the hardware, making the better drivers, which is providing literacy to the consumers to make sure they are better cyber citizens. They understand the nuances of using the internet and the digital superhighway, and lastly, making it affordable. So if on one part, the government's Digital India program was to build this affordable access to the internet, and then the entrepreneurial ecosystem to take over to provide better destinations, more e-commerce, more whatever, education, healthcare, financial services, all on top of it. But that was on the infrastructure side, a hard infrastructure side. The second thing that in 2014 the government decided to do, which links to our financial services talk today, is that we realized that we have this identity platform that had at that point in time about 400 million Indians enrolled into it. And instead of just using that identity platform as a pure identity play, the government decided to platformize it and create the India stack that you talk about, and build on top of it, ensure its universal identity. It's completely digital, by the way, for the benefit of the viewers. It's actually very relevant in the COVID times because it's biometric. It actually uses who you are. There is no username password. It is basically, the Aadhaar identity system, as it's called in India, is authenticated by your 10 fingerprints or 2 iris scans. And the iris scan is actually touchless. So it's actually future-proof in that sense. And the India stack was created with identity as its base. The second layer of the India stack was eKYC, digital lockers, which enables companies like Paytm, where we have Rudra on the panel with us, which enables Citibank, which enables all the banking services, insurance companies, telcos, to onboard customers at fraction of a cost, without actually seeing physically the customer giving any paper. So it's actually a paperless layer on top of a presenceless layer of identity. And lastly, on this India stack is what is the famous UPI, the Unified Payments Interface, which all work interoperably and work together with each other. This created what you called, Ajay, the biggest financial inclusion in the history of mankind. This was used because the Prime Minister said in his 15th August speech in 2014 that I want to make sure that nobody is denied banking in this country. And we have a lot of bankers on this call. They will tell you that that was easier said than done. And if you didn't have the benefit of technology, you could never achieve that. But with the benefit of this public infrastructure, now India Stack is a public infrastructure. It is available for governments, for startups, for banks, for anybody to use. And this is the first of its kind public infrastructure in the world that has more than 1 billion users. Today, 1.3 billion Indians use India Stack knowingly and unknowingly. And this caused the biggest financial inclusion in terms of the Jan Dhan accounts. We have, Ajay, added 380 million bank accounts in less than 3 years. And this does not count the Paytm users or the other wallet to payments bank users. This is pure banking accounts, Jan Dhan accounts. And 380 million, by the way, is more than the population of the United States. That's been added to the banking system in less than 4 years. And so it was the benefit of technology, the benefit of Digital India, which made these bank accounts reach to the poorest. And today we have, I think, India's financial system is so dependent on this. Any new startup, any new scheme of the government, any new things that, healthcare platforms that we build, if India Stack is not integrated with it, I think it's bound to not succeed. So by design, everything has India Stack built into it. And, we'll talk about direct benefits transfers and the government platforms that are using it and how much money is getting saved. But I just want to leave it with this opening thoughts with you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Arvind. The numbers are staggering and speak volumes of the progress in India. So I'll switch slightly from a different lens. Let's look at from a consumer fintech perspective. Rudra, Paytm is a phenomenal success story, and you are emblematic of the entrepreneurship progress in India. You guys have been the pioneer in the consumer finance and innovation areas, and I must confess, in my conversation with large financial institutions in Europe, a lot of them want to emulate the Paytm model. So tell us a bit about the end-to-end horizontal ecosystem that you built, and also the culture of innovation at the firm and how you leverage the India Stack as well.
Thanks, Ajay. Hi, everyone, and thank you, India Inc., for having us. I just want to start with the fact that, as Arvind, continuing from where Arvind left off, is the fact that the India Stack was created is actually the most beneficial thing for all digital startups possibly in the world. This is the greatest thing that a country can do for its startup ecosystem. And Paytm is a great success because, preparedness met opportunity, because that was created by the government, in 2014-15, when they adopted, the India Stack with identity and essentially payments with UPI as well. Subsequent to that, what we saw was that as payments became a way of life for most people, and the use case started becoming more and more sticky, we were benefited by the ability to create horizontal businesses, as you asked. So from travel, so a customer can use Paytm from morning to night, from buying his early morning breakfast, groceries, to literally paying for anything that he does in the day: taxis, shopping, petrol, toll. Toll is another great example of horizontal expansion, where machine learning was utilized, and our ability to connect to the incredible NPCI infrastructure, which Arvind mentioned is the first of its kind in the world, and possibly the best that we've seen so far. We are advising we look at a bunch of countries outside India as well, and in most of the Middle East and most of the US, Europe, I believe our ability to integrate any use case is possibly the fastest because of the India Stack that's been created. Going forward with bill payments, ease of access to customers to continue to pay. This helps the merchants as well, because they don't have to chase up. They don't have, you can create automation, which was done with direct debit transfers in Europe, but much better in India with payments which have been done through the bill payment systems. And there's not just Paytm. There are several great companies in India which are built around payments, around the India Stack, that are leveraging the India Stack to build other businesses, using intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. The most interesting part, that we see going forward in the digitization is, and as I travel, across the world, and you mentioned that a bunch of European companies want to emulate. I have not seen such a horizontal use case integration on any one single app in the world, outside possibly China, because we have been able to create smart experiences which are, and Paytm has done this possibly the most aggressively in owning all the experiences, from e-commerce to travel to rail payment. We sell the maximum number of railway tickets online through Paytm, and that was again part of the India stack that was created because it's such a seamless experience. It's way better than the UK or the US, and considering the density of travel and the train systems that we have in India. I have seen several, and in Europe you call them neobanks. I've seen several of these that are there, but none of them have been able to create even one more use case than payments or banking, and all of them want to emulate. And so it's a great source of pride for us. And this pride is actually enabled completely by the stack that the government created. So I'll give it back to you now.
Sure.
And
sure.
Continue.
So I think I would also like you to spend half a minute on the culture of innovation at the firm. I mean, the number of use cases you are creating is phenomenal. So what is that culture you are trying to drive within the firm?
I think, I came from the financial services world, and what I was most impressed and surprised with at Paytm was how Vijay has managed, our founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma has managed to create, entrepreneurs all across. Everybody is skilled in, can be, and has to be skilled in whatever comes their way. Everybody has to know the business inside out, because you don't know what will come. So even though it's a large business, last valuation was over $18 billion, we are all entrepreneurs. We all do everything that we have to do to make sure that the job gets done. And it's a very nice ownership structure. You get rewarded and recognized for what you've done. Everybody sees it. It's a very visible structure. Some of the things we did was, and internally as well, allowing people to put their hand up for any new task that comes up and go through a process of fairly quick selection internally. And that innovation is, I think you see this across most of the big, large tech companies that we see in India, because they've adopted, and this cross-pollination of people, we get best practices. So if you see middle management at the large tech companies, Paytm, Ola, Iyer rooms, several of these larger companies, Byju's, you see the quality of people is incredible. And it's hard to find this in even large MNCs, because, we know everything and we do everything, and we're ready to do it.
Thank you very much, Rudra. Appreciate it. Mridula, can you hear us now? You were having some technology challenges, Mridula. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back.
Wonderful, wonderful. We covered the public services lens. We covered the fintech lens. Mridula, you work for a colossal global franchise, and you will speak to the lens of corporate India. So tell us, how are corporates in India looking at digitization? How have they benefited from the digitization initiatives underway in the country? And also give us a sense of how does India stack measure up against the mature markets technologies you've seen?
Okay. Thank you, Ajay. Welcome, everyone. I think both corporates and India and banks equally have been a big beneficiary of this digitization evolution which has played out in the country. If you really look at the corporates and the way they look at digitization, I would say that you can probably look at it in three parts, Ajay. One is, how do they digitize their internal processes? So what they would refer as digitizing their core and eliminating any kind of manual touch points. The second part would be, how do they engage with the banks, and how can you digitize that whole engagement? And today, most banks are able to provide multiple digital channels for the corporates to connect with them both ways. Both in terms of transaction initiation and then getting information. So you have online banking, you can provide a host-to-host connectivity, or you can provide the API technology, which is real-time and instantaneous, right? And the third aspect, which I think has been the biggest beneficiary of what is happening in India, is how are corporates trying to digitize their ecosystem around them, which is their consumers, their suppliers, their vendors, and everyone who's out there, right? And that, I would say, has been a recent phenomenon that I have seen over the last couple of years. and that has been aided significantly by what is happening in the country. Today, if you see that in the payment ecosystem in India, there are multiple digital channels in which these ecosystem guys can pay the corporate or receive money from the corporate. And all of these payment systems, most of them are very simple, easy to use, and real-time, and several of them are real-time and instantaneous. So if you really look at it, the way corporates are looking at this digitization journey is pretty much end-to-end, front to back, back to front, wherein they are trying to not just digitize the internal processes with the banks and then going into the ecosystem at large. Now, if you just compare what is happening in India versus what is happening globally, I would say that the India faster payment stack is probably one of the finest that we have seen. Most countries, I would say, somewhere or the other are in the faster payment journey. Either they have it or they are trying to kind of introduce faster payments. But just the way the UPI stack, if I can take, for example, the way it has been built, I guess it is by far probably the best that we have seen. The request to pay capability is pretty phenomenal when it comes to ease of use and how quick and robust it is, and the interoperability. So really, if you see that most countries are in the digitization journey and in the faster payments journey, but I would say that the India stack probably has given the India faster payments a notch higher. I would rate it a notch higher as compared to the other countries. So yeah, overall, I would say, Ajay, that corporates in India have a phenomenal ecosystem that is available to them right now. And I would say that most of them are trying to leverage that to get the benefits of digitization.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mridula. And just to follow up on this one, given the size and scale of Citi, how do you see the fintech world? I mean, do you see them as a competition or a collaborator? And it will be good to get some examples from you if you've seen this sort of collaboration working, or you have Rudra also here, so there's got to be some level of symbiotic relationship. So tell us what's going on with the collaboration with fintechs.
I would say that we don't see them as adversaries at all. I think we just see them as partners and collaborators now. I guess what we've seen over the past few years is fintechs have the agility and they have the access to new technologies, and there are lots of problems out there, Ajay, which need a solution. And when you look around, some of these fintechs have smart solutions. So if you're really able to take a fintech application and embed it into a banking solution or bundle it with a banking solution, I think you can bring a phenomenal value proposition to your client. And that is exactly what Citi is trying to do. That is our philosophy globally. We have very successful partnerships with the fintech wherein we have been able to come together and co-create solutions. In fact, we have even gone ahead and invested in some fintech so that we can work well together. Even in India, I think we have successfully experimented with fintech partnerships and have rolled out some good solutions in the field of recon, in onboarding of suppliers, and in MISs, etc. So I see that there is numerous opportunities and potential for banks and fintechs to work together. And if you really want this whole digital transformation to get accelerated, it is important for these two forces to come together and work so that the whole digital ecosystem, can be made beneficial for corporates and consumers.
Thank you so much, Mridula. This is inspiring, and there's a lot of lessons from India for sure. I'll just switch gears and move to the subject of data. Our chairman Nandan Nilekani says India will be, data rich before it becomes sort of economically rich. So digital data are often obtained at zero marginal cost, as you've seen. It's a byproduct of the digital services and can be used by many without loss of content. And open access to data could also lower switching costs, as you've seen, in the case of Paytm and many other examples, for customers, and generally foster a great deal of competition and financial inclusion. So, Ruth, give us a sense of how you're monetizing data and building sort of integrated propositions for your customers. Would be good to get a lens from the fintech perspective because your business sort of hinges entirely on data.
Right. So, Ajay, with and Mr. Nilekani was absolutely right that we'll be data rich. In fact, even a company like ours, which launched the wallet business, not that long ago, we have over 500 million users, do 600, 700 million monthly transactions. Probably $100 billion is going to go through our pipes this year in payments. and merchants as well. So, our ability to gather data from customers is incredibly, and merchants. And we are, our hope and goal is to enrich the entire ecosystem with this data by benefiting our users. For example, of course, the holy grail of all fintech companies is to, and everybody seems to be going in the same direction, is to start lending and become an insurance provider. If you read recently, we've also become an insurance company now. We've got an insurance company license as well. So utilization of data can be in several areas, providing micro loans, smaller loans to individuals, understanding their user behavior. On every transaction, we can collect up to 1,000 data points on customers. And those data points can be utilized for, understanding the customer better and offering him solutions which will enable him to live his life better and easier going forward. You see, the masters of data back in the day and even now, the Americans, and they've been doing it for a long, long time. Their data is, and the utilization of data, it always has to be connected to a specific use case. So financial services companies will eventually move towards lending and insurance. Companies like in social media will move towards advertising models because that's where their data is relevant. Companies like Citi will also, because they sort of traverse the regulated path and support fintechs, they will use other fintechs data to become better lenders. And this is largely the way that the data will be utilized. Because Paytm is a full stack digital play, we have the ability to identify customers' needs based on how they interact with our platform. For example, if somebody is buying a travel ticket or an airline ticket, we have the ability to offer them suitcases to buy or hotels. But going beyond that, we have the ability to give them solutions to finance part of their travel ticket or buy travel insurance. And a lot of these things are done by travel specialists. But now with the super app world that's coming together, companies like ours possibly have the most, the richest data, which is contextualized to serve the customers better. Merchants, for example, the merchants that use our payment receiving system, we have 16 million offline merchants and growing. These guys, the amount of value that goes through our system, we have the ability to identify loan sizes, ability to repay, solvency, needs. And then going towards the merchants, if you look in the commerce space, helping larger companies, identify their distributors' needs before they arise. So, for example, let's take an Indian shoe company like Action Shoes, which is selling shoes in East India, which is cut away from India infrastructurally, because just of distance. And so let's say in Assam, they will be able to identify shoe sizes, color preferences, etc. better and stock their warehouses in, say, Calcutta in advance to replenish those stocks. We will provide that digital ecosystem and those digital rails to help those merchants. And using the same data, those merchants can take loans from Citibank or other such banks to further help grow their business and reach other customers. In e-commerce, if a vendor from Surat wants to sell saris in Calcutta, we have the ability to identify logistics needs of that vendor and create the ability for the customer in Calcutta to see and improve his time to delivery by creating warehouse logistics abilities for the Surat vendor to store himself over there, and many such use cases. So data is going to empower our micro merchants and individual users, and of course the large guys have learned. Companies like Unilever and Procter & Gamble have already learned how to use this well, but we will give them last mile access, the long tail, which they did not have till now, by using our payment solution better. And I can go on and on because this is what this is.
This is such an exciting topic, right? So I'll just switch gears and move to the public area, welfare area. Arvind, how is data being used for the greater public good? I mean, also give us a sense of how you leverage user data for public services and how it helped, especially during the time of COVID. So any sort of examples, any sort of anecdotes would be very useful. But the data lens is what I'm looking for.
So Ajay, let me just say that if companies like Citibank, Paytm, and all the other startups, they are all data and digital companies today. They basically are leveraging data for making the businesses. I think the biggest holder of data today is the Indian government. We are a data billionaire more than anybody else. The government has a fiduciary responsibility of managing this data very well and using it very well. To answer your question, let me give you one example, and this applies both to COVID and otherwise. India using data about citizens and where they consume the PDS patterns and who is entitled to the various schemes of Government of India. First of all, removed about 80 million fakes and ghosts from different welfare schemes of India. 80 million. This is a very high number, and then using data, we were able to create what is called an entitlement engine to give better, and using really artificial intelligence to give better matching of what welfare schemes you are entitled to, and matching those with what you should get, and then of course digitally enrolling you. One of the such programs is the direct benefits transfer that you hear a lot about. While we have the corporate examples and the startup examples, I think one of the biggest beneficiaries why the government created this public infrastructure, the core reason was to save itself money also. So the government has actually transferred over $150 billion over the last 2-3 years using the direct benefits transfer system. Now, what this does is uses data to ensure the right benefits are going to the right set of people. They're pushed to their bank accounts using what is called the Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile Trinity. So, basically we know from a database who is entitled, their mobile number using UPI. We know the bank account. We transfer the money directly into their bank account, simply put, and the money goes directly to them. No intermediaries. Completely the benefit of disintermediation of the internet is really at play. What used to be 85% lost in transit is now 100%. And this is what the PM talked about this afternoon, that people who are entitled receive all the 100 rupees that they're entitled to. The $100 move from the government coffers, $100 reach the end user. And then they are able to use that money. Relevant to the COVID times, the PDS system, the DBT system was put to use. And when migrants or people otherwise impacted by COVID, they were given a certain welfare program called the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. They had to be, they didn't have to sign up a form or enroll in a scheme or say, hey, I am entitled to this. Automatically, we use data analytics to identify which is the vulnerable section of the society, and money was pushed into their bank accounts in 2 days. And on the other side, they used either the postal banks of India or the offline citizen service centers, the common service centers, to withdraw money, and if at all they needed to withdraw, and go buy groceries or buy make sure that they have things for their livelihood. Similarly, the government used the PDS system, the public distribution system, to push food grains, to push the rations into every household. More than 800 million people in India, 200 million families have been impacted during the COVID times without leaving, without coming to a government office or interacting with a government officer in a push system, rather than going and queuing up, which is what we saw in the rest of the world, that people were queuing up for food coupons or unemployment benefits. Nothing of that sort.
Well, that's outstanding sort of how it's leveraging data. Okay, so look, I think I've got a time check warning as well now, so I'll just try and Mridula, we had so much to offer from the corporate lens on the data. I'll probably have to skip that, but just a bit of closing comments from my side. And first of all, thank you, Mridula, Arvind, Rudra, for your extraordinary perspectives on how the digital infrastructure or the India stack of identity, payments, and data are turbocharging growth in the public and welfare systems in India. The fintechs and the corporate world combined, right? It's just not one entity, it's across sectors. And I'll conclude by saying that the digital India is a resounding success story, and it truly offers a representative model of how various policy reforms coupled with sort of population scale digital infrastructure can solve many of the challenges of inclusive development and progress. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you guys, and thank you very much to the audience as well. And let's stay in touch, and appreciate your time. And Ben, thank you to you as well, and thank you to India Week.
Thank you.
It's really great to hear your thoughts there, and thank you to your panel there. Really interesting as far as digital payments are concerned. And we're going to continue that theme. We're going to talk about finances, but India's place on the global map when it comes to manufacturing. We're going to talk about that next with a panel of guests. So do stay with us for India Global Week.